Hi, this is Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and we're specifically going to talk about parents and children, and parents handing down Dungeons and Dragons to children. All right, so just like everything on my channel, I'll tell you right now, I think you're going to be surprised by my opinion on whether parents should be giving Dungeons and Dragons to children. So I recently watched an absolutely fantastic movie, Space Jam, a new legacy, an amazing film. I really just think the only question left is how many Oscars it's going to win, right? So basically, in this movie, LeBron James plays himself, and then he has an actor play his two sons, right? And one of the things that the movie makes incredibly clear is that it shows that it talks about LeBron James's time as a child, right? And it shows that when he was a child, he really liked Nintendo, and that and that there was a point where one of his coaches came and said, listen, if you're going to be a great basketball star, you need to throw your Nintendo DS in the trash and be serious about basketball, right? And it shows that LeBron James did this, but now he has kind of great regret that he didn't just live out his life and choose the path for himself that he wanted most, right? But in the movie, he then makes the same mistake that was made with him. And what he does is he puts incredible pressure on his son to play basketball, right? So let's extend this out to Dungeons and Dragons. And I will tell you right now, I'm a firm believer in this, right? If you are a parent, do not give Dungeons and Dragons to your children. It is the worst possible thing you can do. And the reason why is, here's the thing. If you share Dungeons and Dragons with your children and you play Dungeons and Dragons with your children, it will be connected from you to them, all right? Now, the problem is, if you haven't been paying attention, most children have very mixed emotions about their parents. There are a lot of things their parents do great, but most parents are flawed, right? And many parents make either minor mistakes, which could be highly inflated in the minds of their children, or they make major mistakes, which can be just remembered by their children, right? So basically, almost all children will have some very sharp, frustrating memories with their parents, right? Like, very few parents get through 18 years of raising a child and haven't made massive mistakes, right? Like, really significant mistakes, right? And those can range from just traumatic for the child all the way up to like criminally chargeable, right? Like, but the reality is, you are a parent, and the things you give your children, a lot of times they're going to connect them to some of the worst things that you did, right? And so I want my children to play Dungeons and Dragons when they grow up. And so what I have done to ensure that is I make sure that I absolutely never, ever, ever invite them into my game or even put the game anywhere near them. Some of my children have come to me and said, Dad, can I please play? And what I've said is I will put you into this next campaign, and if it works out, and if all the players are comfortable with your presence there, and if I'm comfortable with your presence there, I will consider inviting you to the next one. So basically, I'm really holding the game at a distance, and I'll tell you right now, few things are more attractive to children than what their parents will not allow them to partake in. Right? Like, it's just, and the things that parents are like, oh, I'm going to get you to love this game by giving to you and telling you all the best things about it, it's just the absolute worst. So I think, Space Jam: A New Legacy is very hard proof that whatever your passion is as a parent, you really should, keep your mouth shut and not expect your child to love it. And the farther you keep it from that child, you give them the opportunity to come and say, hey, that thing you love, I want to love it too, right? And they can then initiate their interest, rather than you being like, hey, we're going to play D&D next Friday night. You ready? Oh, it's going to be great. And then you setting this really high expectation that they like what you like. And maybe even getting, like frustrated and a little ugly with them if they don't, right? Like, because, how could somebody not love the thing you love, right? So as a parent, I'm telling you right now, I strongly encourage all parents, if you want your kids to love and play Dungeons and Dragons and be amazing at it, do not ever give it to them, right? Play it yourself, exhibit how fun it is with your friends and your players, but do not ever, ever, ever invite them in. Because the moment that you do, It will be your approval on the game rather than their pursuit of the game, right? And guess what? Your approval of the game is going to be attached to every mistake you make with that child, right? And the reality is, you might think you're a great parent, but you might find once you get in the game, right, that by the time you're done putting 18 years into a kid, you might have more than a few things you regret, right? Like, and those are all going to then be braided in with that kid's opinion of Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm telling you now, be very, very careful how you pursue dealing with putting Dungeons and Dragons into a game and making Dungeons and Dragons part of your parenting. And that's and when you bring your kid to D&D, that's what you're doing. You are making Dungeons and Dragons part of your parenting. It's a very bad mistake, in my opinion. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you brought your kids into Dungeons & Dragons? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.